Like the video and subscribe to our channel right now and get 1 week of amazing luck. The tree of life may be a popular idea in mythology, folklore, or even religious fiction. Yet there are real trees of death that can bring great harm to humans in the world of biology. While we are not certain about the man-eating tree depicted in some legend, all of the trees discussed in this story demonstrate that fact can be stranger than fiction. In this video, we'll go over the top 15 dangerous trees that everyone should be aware of. While these trees are toxic to touch or consume, they are used for other, more practical reasons. Number 15. Suicide tree. For a strong plot, creative authors investigate the suicide tree of real-life inspiration. This seemingly harmless species has various powerful mixtures of poisons and compounds that are lethal to humans. As a result, it's not surprising that the plant's organic component is a prescription for botanical murder. Native to India, this tree species is useful as a hedge in private landscaping projects. While toxic, this plant does not have a distinct flavor when compared to other toxic plants. According to reports, many people go to this tree on purpose to commit suicide. They consume the plant knowing they will die within minutes. While toxic, this plant does not have a distinct flavor when compared to other toxic plants. According to reports, many people go to this tree on purpose to commit suicide. They consume the plant knowing they will die within minutes. Number 14. Strychnine tree. It may come as a surprise to learn that the strychnine tree is not a mystery lab compound, but rather a natural hazard created by a tree. This plant is endemic to Southeast Asia and India, where it is known as a poisonous tree. It generates strychnine, a lethal toxin that was historically employed on pest animals and humans whom adversaries desired to be slain. These trees' branches appear deceptive, yet they carry loads of dark dollar-like seeds that contain strychnine poison. When the seeds are swallowed, they can produce paralysis, muscle-gripping agony, a heavy tongue, and dizziness. Some victims become overly curious and ingest the plant to see what happens. As a result, they become poisoned by it and are brought to the hospital. Despite the fact that the plant is harmful, experts believe it could help treat cancer. Number 13. Manchineel tree. The manchineel fruit resembles an apple, however, it is incredibly harmful to your health. It's so lethal that you could get burned by standing near its branches on a rainy day, sometimes dubbed a little apple of death. This tree is an endangered species native to the Caribbean coast, including Central and South America, as well as Florida. This plant includes carcinogenic and very deadly chemicals known as formol, as well as other unknown chemical combinations that increase its toxicity. When you stand in the stream while it is pouring, your skin will develop severe rashes. Burning its wood may potentially result in ocular burns and long-term eye damage. Number 12. SANDBOX tree. We are afraid of wild creatures when we enter a natural place, but we pay little attention to the trees and the potential of them injuring or killing us. Being struck or poisoned by a tree is a possibility, but there's more to be concerned about. What if I told you there was a tree that threw grenades? The SANDBOX tree, sometimes known as the dynamite tree, is a species native to tropical North and South America. It stands 200 feet tall and explodes, propelling its heavy seed pod pieces to scatter at 160 miles per hour and land 100 feet or more distance from the tree. Besides exploding, this grenade, which resembles pumpkins, can cause significant harm to the body of a human standing nearby. This tree is armed with venomous spikes that go up the trunk and is loaded with toxic sap that is toxic to humans. Number 11. MILKY mangrove. Mangrove trees provide people of coastal communities with a place to relax and enjoy nature. But not all residents are enthusiastic about being connected with something. Certain plants along the coasts may have skull signs warning tourists not to breach the boundary. These mangrove patches aren't common, so people are advised to prepare beforehand. There is a toxic tree that is extensively dispersed in Southeast Asia and Australian waters, as well as the MILKY mangrove, that no human should touch or climb. It has a glossy leaf tree that can grow up to 65 feet tall. It has a bad smell and pours milky sap from any damaged tree surface, whether snapped or punctured. The chemical emitted contains a latex solution that is harmful to any organism and causes skin irritation. It also causes severe blisters and swelling, and when it comes into contact with the human eye, it can cause irreversible blindness. Number 10. Coconut tree. Coconut is on the list not because it causes a life-threatening sickness, but because its hard shell can fall on one's head because these trees are located near islands and vacationers want to eat coconuts when they visit a beach. They usually stand close to them. The majority of coconut-related incidents occur when humans stand near the trees. Their shell is filled with fifth and water and is protected by a nearly 3-pound hard shell. The height from which it falls makes it even more devastating. Accidents are most common in Sri Lanka, Thailand, New Guinea, and Malaysia. Some deaths have been reported in the tropics, but the media has been accused of inflating the figures. Since the 1770s, there have been 15 reported fatality cases. Number 9. Namibian bottle tree. You are informed about their properties before avoiding them. Yet the Namibian bottle tree presents itself as a toxic rock fit to destroy any living being that drinks it. This desert tree positions itself as a water source, waiting for any desert animal to approach it and ask for a drink. It devotes itself to water storage, yet it is not inviting to those in need. This plant, which may grow to be over 6 feet tall, has been utilized by the Bushmen as a poison for their arrows. This tree's water has also been used to poison birds and humans who swallow any part of it. To safeguard its stored water source, its branches are studded with venomous thorns and deadly sap. This tree recognizes that if it does not protect its water, it will be raided by thirsty animals. Number 8. Bunya pine. The bunya pine is a prehistoric monster tree that is often barricaded to prevent an unsuspecting victim from being crushed to death by a 22-pound pine cone. Doesn't it sound prehistoric? This gigantic monster can grow to be 148 feet tall, with thick-back ancient-looking sprays, and large pine needles that represent a serious hazard to humans. In contrast to broken branches that fall as a result of damage when the pines of this tree fall during reproduction, anyone standing nearby is begging for a cracked head. A family in San Francisco filed a lawsuit after a guy standing beneath a tree was struck by a massive pine cone. It resulted in severe head injuries and even brain damage. This living fossil is a prehistoric plant native to Queensland in Australia. These massive cones are so heavy that no animal could ever transport them. They fall to the forest floor and stay there for as long as they are needed. Number 7. GYMPIE. Stinging nettles are uncomfortable when touched, yet they can be converted into vegetables and eaten. Yet, there is a stinging nettle on steroids that may poison, inflict danger, and even kill unsuspecting explorers in the wild. The strangely formed Australian plant is a horror tree with stinging plants capable of delivering poisonous compounds upon contact with the skin. It kills humans and animals and, in most cases, causes suffering that lasts for months. They inflict monster-sized stingers on their victims. According to reports, an Australian officer committed suicide after being stung by a tree. He'd been in pain for months and couldn't stand it any longer. According to research, the discomfort might last for several years, causing the victim to spend more time in the hospital than necessary. Number 6. Dragon blood. The Socotra dragon tree is another name for the dragon blood tree. It is unique to the Socotra archipelago island, which is part of Yemen. It is also known as the bloody tree because it produces a red sap that has been utilized for many years as a resin. This bleeding tree stands 60 feet tall and 20 feet across. According to legend, the first dragon tree was produced from the blood of a dragon who had been injured by an elephant. It was utilized as a pigment for art, medicine, and dye by the ancients. Researchers observed that dragon blood has an anticoagulant effect on rats, which indicates that ingesting it accelerates bleeding. This red pigment is very hazardous and can damage anyone who comes into contact with it. Number 5. Common yew. The common yew is the genuine deal when it comes to dangerous conifer trees that can take one's life if consumed. Despite its modest size, this flexible tree has long been a source of bendable wood for archery equipment. It is also dangerous and stands out among carnivorous trees because of the extraordinary toxicity of its flora, seeds, fruits, and woolly components. Despite the uncontrolled lethality of its toxins, this garden-type killer is appealing and easily coaxed into hedging. The common yew is indigenous to Europe, North Africa, the British Isles, and West Asia, where it causes fatal poisonings. Number 4. Poison ivy. If you live in North America, you've certainly heard of poison ivy, which is renowned for causing itching all over your body with its 3 leaves. This tree contains a toxin called gerusol, and when you contact it, all of its parts cause itchy, painful skin inflammation known as dermatitis. Even more alarming is the fact that this toxin is still present on tools, clothing, and animals that come into touch with the plant. The unsuspecting victim does not need to touch the animal before becoming infected, but by handling the infected cloth, they risk serious consequences. If your clothes come into contact with poison ivy, make careful to remove them so that they don't touch your skin, as the rash can last up to 3 days. Before we move on, I have a challenge for you that will take 5 seconds to complete. Like this video and hit the subscribe button, press the notification bell and get 6 months of amazing luck. Try, it really works. Number 3. Pain bush. The African poison ivy, commonly known as the agony bush plant, is native to southeastern Africa and lives up to its name. This plant is a tiny tree or shrub that produces a creamy sap rich in compounds known as heptane cells. The chemicals cause this sap to turn black when dried, and sufferers who contact it develop swollen skin with blisters and rashes. Fortunately, some persons are immune to the symptoms. Unfortunately, you can only tell if you're immune by touching it. Thankfully, the symptoms go away after a few days. Number 2. Hogweed. The hogweed is indigenous to Europe and parts of the United States. The sap and leaves of these weedy wildflowers contain photosensitizing furanocoumarins, which should be avoided at all costs. Contact with this lethal plant causes phytophotodermatitis, a condition in which the skin develops severe blisters when exposed to sunlight. If the sap gets into the eye, it can cause blindness. Given the plant's resemblance to the lethal water hemlock, avoiding all carrot-looking plants with white flower clusters is a solid rule of thumb for staying safe near them. Number 1. Tread softly. The name of this tree should serve as a warning to those who are too calm when exploring nature and end up with finger rot or nose burn. This lovely tiny herb is indigenous to the southeastern United States. The plant's blossoms are covered in stinging hairs, which break on the skin and emit a variety of irritants and chemicals. Despite the fact that contact creates painful sensations that linger for more than a week, some sufferers have skin darkening for several days. If there's one thing you should never do to this plant, it's walk on it barefoot. What do you think about this video? Do you ever suffer because of any tree mentioned in the video? Let us know in the comment box. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe channel for more upcoming videos.